Welcome to Delta History, where the battlefield speaks and the truth cuts through the fog of war. Tonight, we bring you a story that will be remembered as one of the most shocking and brutal chapters in modern warfare. It is the story of Pokrovsk, the day when Ukraine's Azov Brigade annihilated 1,000 Russian invaders in just a single day of relentless combat. This is not merely a tale of destruction. It is a story of courage, of planning, and of ferocity. A story that proves how, even against overwhelming odds, discipline and determination can decide the fate of thousands. And as we unfold this battle, you will see why Pokrovsk has become more than a battlefield. It has become a symbol. The stage is set. Pokrovsk lies on the ragged edge of Ukraine's eastern front, a city scarred by artillery, battered by airstrikes, yet unbroken in spirit. Its roads are cratered from months of shelling. Its neighborhoods are littered with ruins, each building telling the story of survival. Still, its people endure, refusing to leave the soil that has become both home and fortress. For weeks, Russian commanders eyed Pokrovsk as their next great breakthrough. To them, the city was not just another target, it was a strategic gate, a path to cut through Ukrainian defenses, a corridor that would open the way to larger conquests. They envisioned armored columns rolling through its streets, banners raised in triumph. Convoys began to move, armored vehicles crept across muddy fields. Infantry marched in columns, their boots sinking into the black earth. Artillery units roared constantly, softening what they believed to be weak defenses. Russian propaganda promised a swift operation, one that would overwhelm Ukrainian resistance in days, perhaps even hours. But Moscow miscalculated. What awaited them was not a broken defense, but a force forged in fire. The Azov Brigade, men who had endured the brutal siege of Mariupol, who had fought in the ruins of steel plants and the tunnels of bombed-out cities, now stood in Pokrovsk. For them, defense was not retreat. It was a craft, a deadly art perfected through blood and sacrifice. The calm before the storm. On the morning of the assault, the air was thick with tension. The sky hung gray, as if nature itself sensed what was coming. Russian troops advanced confidently, their orders clear, their commanders convinced that resistance would crumble. Their intelligence claimed Ukrainian units were scattered, undersupplied, and exhausted. But in reality, the city was a fortress. Beneath broken bridges, in shattered factories, and along tree lines that had seen countless battles, Azov fighters waited. Their eyes were not only on the streets but on the skies. High above, drones glided silently, invisible to the naked eye, watching, recording, marking every Russian position. Nothing moved without being seen. At first light, the silence shattered. A HIMARS rocket, fired from miles behind the front, streaked across the sky. It slammed into the lead Russian convoy with devastating precision. The explosion tore apart armored vehicles, fire and metal raining across the road. Panic spread like wildfire. Then came the thunder. Ukrainian artillery erupted in a deadly chorus, shells falling from multiple directions at once. The battlefield was engulfed in fire, smoke, and chaos. For the Russian troops, it was the first sign that their confidence was a deadly illusion. The trap springs shut. Russian infantry scrambled for cover, rushing into abandoned buildings, trenches, and ruined homes. But Azov had prepared for this. Every possible escape, every fallback position had been mapped, targeted, and marked. From rooftops and high ridges, sniper teams picked off officers and radio operators. Communication lines collapsed. Confusion spread as units lost their leaders in the first minutes of combat. Mortar fire, guided by drones hovering silently above, landed with pinpoint accuracy on clusters of troops. Tank crews, trying desperately to reorganize, shouted into broken radios. Infantry companies scattered, unsure of where to go, unsure of who still commanded them. What had been intended as a powerful spearhead advance dissolved into chaos. And then Azov struck. Moving in small, disciplined squads, they launched a series of lightning attacks. They hit fast, hard, and disappeared just as quickly. A squad would clear a trench with grenades and gunfire, then melt back into the ruins. Another would ambush an armored vehicle, knocking it out before slipping away. Every street became an ambush zone. Every alleyway became a trap. The Russians had walked into a battlefield designed to destroy them. What began as an invasion was turning into a massacre. The scale of the carnage. By midday, Pokrovsk was unrecognizable. Thick columns of smoke rose into the sky, blotting out the sun. The ground trembled from the unending roar of artillery and rocket fire. The cries of the wounded echoed across the fields, mingling with the thunder of explosions. Russian troops found themselves trapped. Tanks attempting to retreat were hunted by Javelin and NLAW teams, their missiles streaking from hidden positions with deadly accuracy. Convoys of infantry tried to regroup, but were torn apart again and again by precise artillery strikes. Witnesses later described the city as hell itself. Buildings collapsed into rubble, burying soldiers inside. Streets were choked with burning vehicles, twisted steel, and bodies. The Russian advance, once confident, once so sure, had been shattered. By the time the sun began to set, the destruction was complete. 1,000 Russian invaders lay dead. Their offensive was no more. In a single day, a force that had been expected to conquer had instead been annihilated. Voices from the front. For the Azov fighters, the battle was more than survival. It was vindication. One soldier recalled, "They came at us like an unstoppable tide, but they didn't know what we had waiting. Every step they took brought them closer to destruction. We weren't just defending the city, we were sending a message: Ukraine does not break." For Russian survivors, despair was the only word. Prisoners captured after the battle admitted they had been lied to. Commanders had promised an easy fight, a quick victory. Instead, they were sent into a killing field. Many spoke of broken communication, poor leadership, and the relentless presence of Ukrainian drones circling overhead, a constant reminder that they were being watched, hunted, and targeted. Strategic shockwaves. The defeat at Pokrovsk echoed far beyond the battlefield. In Moscow, the news was received with anger and disbelief. Reports of massive casualties filtered back, though the Kremlin worked desperately to conceal the true scale. Families of Russian soldiers demanded answers. Military commanders searched for excuses. Propaganda channels twisted narratives, but even they struggled to explain how a supposedly unstoppable force had been destroyed in less than a day. For Ukraine, however, Pokrovsk was a moment of triumph. It was proof that strategy, preparation, and courage could defeat sheer numbers. The Azov Brigade had not simply defended their land. They had shown the world that Russia's endless manpower could be broken, that determination could shatter invasion. A turning point in the war. Military analysts across the globe soon labeled Pokrovsk a turning point. The annihilation of 1,000 Russian soldiers in a single day was not just a tactical victory, it was a psychological earthquake. It demonstrated that Russia's offensives, built on brute force and overwhelming manpower, could be stopped cold. It inspired Ukrainians everywhere, reminding them that their resistance was not just survival, it was victory. And it sent a message to the world: Ukraine would not surrender. As news spread, Pokrovsk became a rallying cry. The name Azov resonated once again, a symbol of defiance, sacrifice, and unyielding strength. Across Europe, across the Atlantic, and across every nation watching the war, Pokrovsk became a lesson in resilience. This was the story of Pokrovsk, the day when the Azov Brigade destroyed 1,000 Russian invaders and carved their name into the annals of modern military history. The war is not over, and the struggle continues. But battles like this remind us of the price of freedom, the strength of resistance, and the unbreakable spirit of a nation under fire. You've been watching Delta History, where the battlefield speaks and the truth cuts through the fog of war.